world. But first, let's take a look at the headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to address the convocation of Visva-Bharati today via video conferencing. Governor of West Bengal and Rector of Visva-Bharati. A total of 2,535 students will receive their degrees during the ceremony. Prime Minister to inaugurate and lay foundation stones of key projects of power and urban sector in Kerala via video conferencing. Chief Minister of the state along with Union Ministers of State for Power and New and Renewable Energy and Housing and Urban Affairs will also be present on the occasion. 3 unidentified terrorists killed in Shopian encounter, incriminating materials including arms and ammunition recovered. Search operations on. Encounters at Birwa area of Badgam district and Badigam area of Shopian are on. NASA's Mars Perseverance rover safely lands on the red planet. Robotic vehicle sailed through space for nearly 7 months. NASA receives first images from rover on Mars surface. COVID-19 cases tally worldwide surpasses 11 crore 8 lakh mark. Total recoveries cross 8 crore 57 lakhs. Death toll now over 24 lakh 52,000. In sports, in the Australian Open semi-finals in the men's singles today, 4th-seeded Daniil Medavdev to face the 5th-seeded Stefanos Sitsipas. Winner will face Novak Djokovic in summit clash on Super Sunday. And now for our top story. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will address the convocation of Visva-Bharati via video conferencing today. Governor of West Bengal and Rector of Visva-Bharati, Jagdeep Dhankar, Union Education Minister Dr. Ramesh Pokhriyal Nishank and Union MOS for Education Sanjay Dhotre will also be present on the occasion. A total of 2,535 students will receive their degrees during the ceremony. Visva-Bharati was founded by Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore in 1921. It is the oldest central university in India. In May 1951, Visva-Bharati was declared a central university and an institution of national importance by an Act of Parliament. The university followed the pedagogy devised by Gurudev Tagore, though it gradually evolved in the format in which modern universities developed elsewhere. The Prime Minister is also the Chancellor of the university. Prime Minister Narendra Modi took to Twitter saying, Visva-Bharati is a prized center of learning. It is closely associated with the ideals of the great Gurudev Tagore. Those who have studied there have distinguished themselves in many fields. The Prime Minister will today inaugurate and lay the foundation stones of key projects of power and the urban sector in Kerala in the evening via video conferencing. Chief Minister of Kerala, along with Union Ministers of State for Power and New and Renewable Energy and Housing and Urban Affairs will also be present on the occasion. Prime Minister will inaugurate the 320 kV Pugalur-Thrissur power transmission project. It is a voltage source converter based high voltage direct current project and is India's first HVDC link featuring state-of-the-art VSC technology. It will facilitate transfer of 2,000 megawatts of power from the western region and help meet the growth in load for people of Kerala. He will dedicate to the nation the 50 megawatt Kasaragod solar power project, which has been developed under the National Solar Energy Mission. and lay the foundation stone of the Integrated Command and Control Centre at Thiruvananthapuram. Projected to be built at a cost of 94 crore rupees, it is being set up to host smart solutions for Thiruvananthapuram Municipal Corporation and will act as a common point of action during emergency situations to facilitate coordinated action. The Prime Minister will lay the foundation stone of the Smart Roads project in Thiruvananthapuram. The project, to be undertaken at an estimated cost of 427 crore rupees, envisages converting 37 kilometers of existing roads in Thiruvananthapuram to world-class smart roads by bringing all overhead utilities underneath and undertaking road and junction improvements. He will inaugurate the 75 million litres per day water treatment plant at Aruvikara, built under the Amrut mission, which will boost supply of drinking water to people of Thiruvananthapuram again and help avoid disruption of drinking water supply to the city in the event of maintenance work in the existing treatment plants in Aruvikara. And the news now from Jammu and Kashmir. 3 unidentified terrorists were killed in an encounter in Badigam area of Shopian district this morning. According to Kashmir police, incriminating materials including arms and ammunition have been recovered from the terrorists. The encounter is over and search operations are on. Another encounter took place in Birwa area of Badgam district. Police and security forces are giving a befitting reply to the terrorists. According to Kashmir police, one special police officer, Muhammad Altaf, was martyred, while selection grade constable Manzoor Ahmed was injured in the ongoing operation in Badgam, which is underway. And well, this was breaking news this morning. 2 encounters in one. 3 terrorists in the encounter in Badigam of Shopian district. 3 terrorists were killed. Arms and ammunition were recovered. The encounter began in the morning. It has concluded as of now, and final search operations were underway since we last spoke to our reporter who's covering the event. And the combing operation began in the morning, which was when the terrorists were discovered, and arms and ammunition and various other incriminating materials have been recovered from the terrorists who were killed in the encounter. In another encounter in Badgam district of central Kashmir, the encounter is still underway. In the previous encounter we are referring to in Badigam, the terrorists have not been identified. Police will be confirming their identity and the outfit to which they belong in a short while, we believe. And let's now take a look at updates on the COVID situation from across the country. The recovery rate has touched 97.30%. The Health Ministry has said in the last 24 hours, 10,896 people have been discharged. 1,667,741 people have recovered from the virus so far. India's total active caseload presently stands at 1.39 lakh. The active caseload now consists of just 1.27% of the country's total positive cases. Meanwhile, over 98 lakh people have been administered COVID-19 vaccines in the country till Thursday. The total cumulative vaccination coverage includes over 66 lakh healthcare workers and over 31 lakh frontline workers. In Uttar Pradesh, COVID testing and vaccination work is underway in full swing. With this, it has become the first state to complete more than 3 crore COVID-19 tests and administer more than 10 lakh vaccines to healthcare workers and frontline workers. The achievement is surely remarkable considering that at the onset of the pandemic, the state had just one lab to run COVID confirmation tests. New cases of COVID-19 in UP continue to decline. Prime Minister, let's listen in to the Prime Minister. And with the vaccination drive crossing new milestones every day, efforts to track COVID-19 are still going strong. According to the Indian Council of Medical Research, a total of 20 crore 94,74,862 samples have been tested for COVID so far. Of these, 7,71,071 samples were tested on Thursday itself.
Prime Minister and I discussed the possibility of organizing a hackathon on the circular economy. I am glad that our idea has been realized so soon. I thank my dear friend Prime Minister Scott Morrison for his support to this joint initiative. I also commend all the participants for their commitment despite the COVID-19 pandemic. For me, you are all winners. Friends, as humanity faces the challenges posed by climate change, the theme of this hackathon is relevant to the whole world. Consumption-oriented economic model have put and great strain on our planet. We must never forget that we are not the owners of all that Mother Earth has to offer, but merely it's a trustees for all the future generations to come. It is not enough to make our production processes more efficient and less polluting. No matter how fast or slow one drives, if the direction is wrong, then one is bound to reach the wrong destination. And so, we must set the right direction. We must look at our consumption patterns and how we can reduce their ecological impact. This is where the concept of circular economy comes in. It can be a key step in solving many of our challenges. Recycling and reusing things, eliminating waste and improving resources efficiency must become part of our lifestyle. This hackathon has seen innovative solutions from Indian and Australian students, startups, and entrepreneurs. These innovations show your commitment to the philosophy of circular economy. I have no doubt that your innovations will inspire our two countries to take the lead in circular economy solutions. And for that, we must now also explore ways to scale up and incubate these ideas. Friends, the power of youth comes from openness to new ideas and innovations and the ability to take risks. The energy and enthusiasm of today's youthful participants is a symbol of the forward-looking partnership between India and Australia. I have full confidence in the energy, creativity, and out-of-box thinking of our youth. They can offer sustainable, holistic solution to not just our two countries, but to the whole world. The strong India-Australia partnership will play an important role in shaping the post-COVID world. And our youth Our young innovators, our startups will be at the forefront of this partnership. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Welcome back to the studios. That was Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressing the joint hackathon with India and Australia, which has as its theme a circular economy as being better than a consumption-oriented economy model. He said that we as human beings, we are trustees and not owners of the resources of Mother Earth. The direction that we decide on, that we choose on, has to be correct to reach the correct destination. He stressed on the concept of a circular economy and praised those participating in the joint hackathon, and he spoke of the importance of recycling and reusing things. He said the hackathon is throwing up innovative ideas for a better economy, and he lauded the growing ties between India and Australia in every regard. Now back to the bulletin. The civic authorities in Mumbai clamped down with fresh safety measures as COVID numbers in the state and the city remained on an upward trajectory for a week, logging over 5,000 cases on Thursday. The Mumbai Municipal Corporation issued strict directives for Mumbai as the city witnessed a renewed surge in virus cases. The civic body has decided to register offences against people who violate safety guidelines. The civic body has decided to resume stamping of the hands of people who are placed under home quarantine, and in case of violation, an offence will be registered against them. Similar action will be taken against those who flout the rules at weddings and other social gatherings in the city, and BMC teams will raid event venues. Orders have been issued to raid marriage halls, clubs and restaurants to check COVID-appropriate behaviour. BMC has decided to seal buildings with more than 5 COVID-19 patients. The Mumbai civic body said 300 marshals will be appointed to take action against passengers travelling without a mask in suburban railways. The aim will be to catch 25,000 offenders every day. Apart from this, the civic body said a 7-day institutional quarantine is mandatory for travellers coming to Mumbai from Brazil, where a new strain of the virus has been found. All these measures will be carried out in tandem with an increasing number of tests in wards that record a growing number of cases. The COVID-19 pandemic saw India emerge as the pharmacy of the world. India not only took care of its own population but shared medicines, personal protective equipment, test kits, vaccines and above all knowledge with other countries too. On Thursday, India went a step further, sharing best practices with neighbours in South Asia and the Indian Ocean region. Here's a report.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Thursday urged South Asian and Indian Ocean countries to consider a special visa for doctors and nurses so that they can travel quickly within the region during a health emergency. He also mooted a regional air ambulance service. He made these and other proposals in his address to a workshop for health officials from all 8 SAARC countries besides Mauritius and Seychelles, who met online to talk about COVID-19 management, share their experiences and best practices, and decide on the way forward for tackling future pandemics.
Allow me to make some suggestions for your discussions today. Can we consider creating a special visa scheme for our doctors and nurses so that they can travel quickly within our region during health emergencies on the request of the receiving country? Can our civil aviation ministries coordinate a regional air ambulance agreement for medical contingencies? Can we create a regional platform for collating, compiling and studying data about the effectiveness of COVID-19 vaccines among our population? Can we similarly create a regional network for promoting technology-driven epidemiology for preventing future pandemics? And beyond COVID-19, can we also share our successful public health policies and schemes?
Prime Minister Modi said the Ayushman Bharat and Jan Arogya schemes announced by his government could be useful case studies for other countries in India's immediate and extended neighborhood. He said the region would be able to overcome present and future challenges if it remained united.
If the 21st century is to be the Asian century, it cannot be without greater integration among the countries of South Asia and the Indian Ocean island countries. The spirit of regional solidarity that you have shown during the pandemic has proven that such integration is possible.
In March last year, India took the initiative to set up a COVID-19 emergency response fund. India contributed $10 million to this fund. It has shared about 23 million doses of vaccine globally, including 6.5 million doses as a grant. Bureau Report, DD India.
An External Affairs Minister, Dr. S. Jaishankar, will be visiting the Maldives and Mauritius from tomorrow. During his visit to the Maldives on the 20th and the 21st of February, he will call on President Ibrahim Mohammed Solih and have substantive discussions with the Ministers for Foreign Affairs, Defence, Finance, Economic Development and Planning and Infrastructure. Dr. Jaishankar will review the entire gamut of bilateral ties as well as progress of ongoing bilateral projects and hold discussions on the ongoing COVID situation, including India's continued assistance to the Maldives for the post-COVID economic recovery. And during his visit to Mauritius on the 22nd and 23rd February, Dr. S. Jaishankar will call on President Prithviraj Singh Rupan and Prime Minister Pravind Jugnauth. EAM will also meet his counterpart, the Minister of Foreign Affairs. During his visit, EAM will review the ongoing implementation of various infrastructure projects being carried out by India in Mauritius, holding discussions on bilateral, regional and global issues of mutual interest, including India's assistance to Mauritius. Both Maldives and Mauritius are India's key maritime neighbors in the Indian Ocean region and occupy a special place in the Prime Minister's vision of Sagar, or security and growth for all in the region. Union Home Minister Amit Shah will today visit the National Library in Kolkata to pay tributes to the martyrs from West Bengal. The Home Minister and senior BJP leader is on a two-day visit to West Bengal. He will launch the fifth and final phase of Pariborton Yatra on Thursday at South 24 Parganas district in the state. And news now from Uttarakhand. The death toll in the disaster there due to the crashing of the glacier in Chamoli has climbed to 61. 3 bodies were recovered from the rubble on Thursday, that's yesterday. Meanwhile, the search for those missing continues. Debris is being extracted from the main tunnel at Tapovan. Of the 61 dead, 34 have been identified. Meanwhile, the work of removing the sludge and debris from the Tapovan Hydel project tunnel continues. The United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization and the Arbor Day Foundation have recognized Hyderabad as a 2020 Tree City of the World for its commitment to growing and maintaining urban forests. Officials say the recognition was a testament to the city's sustained and institutional efforts to plant, nurture and celebrate trees, development of urban and peri-urban forestry actions, projects and strategic planning, and commitment to building a healthy city. Most of the other cities were from the United States, the UK, Canada, and Australia. And it's time now for a short break. We'll be right back. More news on the hour on the other side. Keep watching DD India.
Namaste India.
Namaste land.
Marhaban ila al-Hind.
Zari India.
Salam India.
Namaste India.
Namaskar Bharata.
Mui
Nous
India.
sommes land.
Nahnu hunud.
India.
माँ हिंदी हस्ती
Mung Hindian Youth.
Salam Hindustan.
We are India.
Welcome back. You're watching News on the Hour here on DD India, and news now from around the world. NASA's science rover Perseverance, the most advanced astrobiology laboratory ever sent to another world, streaked through the Martian atmosphere on Thursday, landing safely on the floor of a vast crater. This is its first stop on a search for traces of ancient microbial life on the red planet. The mission managers at NASA's Jet Propulsion Lab near Los Angeles burst into applause and cheers as radio signals confirmed that the six-wheeled rover had survived its perilous descent and arrived within its target zone inside the Jezero crater. Moments after touchdown, Perseverance beamed back its first black and white images from the Martian surface. Among the scientists who are part of this historic mission, Indian-American Dr. Swati Mohan spearheaded the development of attitude control and the landing system for the rover. When the world watched the dramatic landing, in the control room, calm and composed bindi-clad Dr. Mohan was communicating and coordinating between the GN&C subsystem and the rest of the project's team. Apart from being the lead systems engineer during the development process, she also looks after the team and schedules the mission control staffing for GN&C. The European powers and the United States on Thursday warned Iran it would be dangerous to limit UN nuclear agency inspections. Britain, France, Germany and the US said, after talks based on Paris, that they were united in underlining the dangerous nature of a decision to limit IAEA access ahead of a February 21st deadline set by the Iranian parliament. Iran's latest moves jeopardize the return of the United States to the nuclear deal, German Foreign Minister Heiko Maas warned on Thursday. Iran said on Monday it will block snap inspections by the UN nuclear watchdog from next week if other parties to the 2015 nuclear deal do not uphold their obligations. This comes as a challenge to US President Joe Biden's hope of reviving the accord. Italy's Prime Minister Mario Draghi easily won a vote of confidence in the lower house of parliament on Thursday, the final step needed for his new government to exercise its full powers. The Chamber of Deputies approved the confidence motion by 535 votes to 56 in the 629-seat chamber, with the far-right Brothers of Italy being the only major party to oppose the former European Central Bank president. In Thailand, Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha will face a vote of no confidence from Thailand's parliament tomorrow. He is facing a backlash because of his handling of anti-government protests recently, that's last year, and economic situation due to COVID. The government has further faced criticism in parliament over its COVID-19 vaccine policy. Prime Minister of Thailand Prayut Chan-o-cha has previously survived a vote of no confidence nearly a year ago. Opponents of Myanmar's military coup welcomed new sanctions from Britain and Canada on Friday. Adding to the diplomatic pressures, Japan has said it agrees with India, the US and Australia on the need for democracy to be restored quickly after the army take over on the 1st of February. Massive crowds of protesters took to the streets of Myanmar's largest city, Yangon, again on Thursday to denounce the 1st February military coup. The daily protests and strikes, which have paralyzed government offices, showed no sign of easing, despite the military's promise of a new election and appeals to government employees to return to work. Near the center of the protests, which was held at Sule Square, a massive white graffiti read, "Military dictatorship must fail." The marches have been more peaceful than the demonstrations seen during previous army rule, but they, coupled with the civil disobedience movement, have had a crippling effect on official business. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg has said that defense ministers of the military alliance have made no decision on whether or when to pull out of Afghanistan at a meeting on Thursday. He added that the allies faced a dilemma as violence is increasing there again. After 2 decades of Western military intervention and hundreds of billions of dollars in investment, NATO countries are reluctant to heed a May 1st deadline and risk undermining progress towards democracy as a peace process stalls. The United States' National Weather Service has said that the country's northeast on Thursday awoke under a light cover of snow that could result in accumulations of 6 to 8 inches in parts of Virginia, West Virginia, Maryland, Pennsylvania, and New Jersey. Texas Governor Greg Abbott said on Thursday that all power generating plants in the state were back online, but hundreds of thousands of homes remain without energy because of downed lines and other issues after a ferocious winter storm. He told a news conference that what happened this week to Texans is absolutely unacceptable and can never be replicated again. Abbott also said he has asked state legislators to push through laws mandating that all energy generation plants in Texas winterize their facilities like those in colder states do, in the hopes that future cold snaps do not result in electrical grid failures. U.S. Senator Ted Cruz returned to Texas on Thursday amid a storm of criticism after leaving his home state in the grips of a deadly deep freeze for a family holiday jaunt to the Mexican resort city of Cancun. Cruz, in a statement, said that with school cancelled for the week, his daughters asked to take a trip with friends. The senator also said that he and his staff are in constant communication with state and local leaders to get to the bottom of what happened in Texas. United Nations Chief Antonio Guterres said that a new scientific blueprint for tackling climate change, pollution and the accelerating loss of plant and animal species published on Thursday shows how to end the world's suicidal war on nature. The United Nations Environment Programme report builds on the findings of a previous global studies to help governments, businesses and other actors adopt a more joined-up approach to tackling interlocking environmental crises. Algerian President Abdelmadjid Tebboune on Thursday announced the dissolution of the lower house of parliament and called early legislative elections. Addressing the nation on state television, Tebboune announced a government reshuffle in the next 48 hours, ordering the release of 60 detainees of a protest movement that forced his predecessor Abdelaziz Bouteflika from power in 2019. The current lawmakers of the lower house had been elected for 5 years in May 2017, with Bouteflika's allies having an overwhelming majority. Thousands gathered in Barcelona on Thursday for a third night of protests against the jailing of Catalan rapper Pablo Hasél for glorifying terrorism and insulting royalty in his songs. A video footage of the demonstrations surfaced showing a burning barricade and protesters throwing stones at police. Firefighters had to intervene when the fire broke out of control near an apartment building. According to scientists working on a global study, Earth had its quietest period in decades during 2020 as the COVID pandemic raged. It significantly reduced human activity and its impact on the planet's crust. An international group of seismologists from 33 countries measured a drop of up to 50% in so-called ambient noise generated by humans traveling and factories humming after lockdowns came into force around the world. A Belarusian court has sentenced 2 journalists from that country, Katsiarina Andreeva and Daria Chultsova, from Poland-based TV news channel Belsat, to 2 years in prison on Thursday, after authorities arrested them for live filming protests against President Alexander Lukashenko. Andreeva and Chultsova were detained in an apartment in November from where they had been filming protests taking place over the death of a protester who was killed several days earlier. A Russian court has handed over Anastasia Shevchenko, an anti-Kremlin activist, a suspended 4-year sentence after finding her guilty of carrying out activities on behalf of an undesirable group. The ruling frees Shevchenko, a mother of 2, from house arrest, where she was put in 2019, in what supporters said was a politically motivated case to stop her activism and punish her for public dissent. State prosecutors had asked the court to jail her for 5 years. A Lebanese court on Thursday dismissed Judge Fadi Sawan, who had charged top politicians with negligence over last year's Beirut port explosion, infuriating families of victims who said it showed that the state would never hold powerful men to account. Sawan had led the investigation into the largest non-nuclear blast in history. In December, he charged 3 ex-ministers and the outgoing Prime Minister with negligence. 200 people died in the August blast when a huge stockpile of ammonium nitrate stored unsafely for years detonated at the capital's port. Thousands were injured and entire neighborhoods were destroyed. And time now to take a look at updates on COVID-19 from across the world. The tally worldwide has surpassed 11 crore 8 lakhs. Total recoveries are 8 crore 57 lakhs 77,631. Deadly virus has claimed over 24 lakh 51,394 lives globally. The US continues to remain the worst affected from COVID, where more than 2 crore 85 lakh cases have been registered. The country has reported over 5 lakh 5,000 deaths due to COVID-19. And India continues to achieve new milestones in the fight against the COVID pandemic. The vaccination coverage in the country to healthcare and frontline workers has crossed the 1 crore mark. A total of 1 crore 1,88,007 beneficiaries have been vaccinated so far. 6,58,674 were vaccinated in a single day on Thursday. Brazil surpassed 10 million confirmed coronavirus cases on Thursday as a new variant discovered in the Amazon threatens to further ravage a country where inoculations have been halted in many cities due to a lack of vaccines. Epidemiologists warned the recent carnival holiday would see a further uptick in infections coming on the heels of Christmas and New Year's Eve celebrations that sent cases soaring. As of Thursday, the Brazil Health Ministry tallied 10,30,626 total infections, including 51,879 cases in the past 24 hours. The pandemic has killed 2,43,610 people in Brazil, the worst death toll outside the United States. President Jair Bolsonaro has consistently played down the gravity of the pandemic, urging Brazilians back to work, saying he would not be vaccinated. The French Health Ministry reported 22,501 new confirmed cases on Thursday, compared with 25,018 on Wednesday and 21,063 last Thursday. France also reported 271 new coronavirus deaths over the previous 24 hours, with the total virus death toll now at 83,393. Health Minister Olivier Véran said at a news conference that it was too soon to ease up on virus containment measures and said that the isolation period for positive cases would be increased to 10 days from 7 from Monday. He said the variant first detected in Britain comprises 36% of positive cases in France, whereas those first detected in Brazil and South Africa make up 5% of cases. And Iraq reintroduced a nationwide curfew on Thursday after the country recorded a sharp rise in COVID-19 infections. The curfew between 8 p.m. and 5 a.m. on weekdays and for 24 hours a day on Friday to Sunday was imposed after the country confirmed infections of one of the newer variants of the novel coronavirus. Security personnel were seen patrolling the streets of Baghdad's Karada district. This curfew will last 2 weeks and it can be extended. The Iraqi curfew comes ahead of a planned visit by Pope Francis on the 5th of March, a trip that faces challenges of security and rising COVID-19 infections. The country's highest daily recorded figures touched over 5,000 infections last year. So far, the total number of people infected with COVID in Iraq is 6,57,453, including 13,220 deaths. And Belgium's biggest vaccination center was forced to close hours after it opened due to a technical glitch. The center officially opened on Tuesday but was shut on Wednesday, and by Thursday afternoon only a few hundred people had been vaccinated. The center is built to give 4,000 to 5,000 jabs a day and will eventually be open 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's time now for a short break. More up ahead. Stay with us.
Namaste India.
Namaste land.
مرحبا إلى الهند.
Zari India.
Salam India.
Namaste India.
Namaskar Bharata.
Mui
Nous
India.
sommes l'Inde.
نحن هنود.
Pita India.
माँ हिंदी हस्ती
Mung Hindian Yuga.
सलाम हिंदुस्तान।
We are India.
A global pandemic that's causing havoc worldwide. Search for an effective vaccine is on. Until then, the only option is caution and prevention. Now that the country has opened up under Unlock 5, it's all the more critical that we don't let our guard down. Face mask has been found to be the most effective means to fight the spread of COVID-19. World Health Organization and various researchers have also found that masks are critical in mitigating the spread of COVID-19. When you wear a mask, you protect yourself and people around you. Wearing a face mask helps prevent the spread of COVID-19, but only if worn properly.
बिना मास्क या फेस कवर के घर से बाहर निकलने की अभी कल्पना करना भी सही नहीं है.
Be a part of DD India campaign. Mask Up India. Come and join our initiative to fight COVID-19. Share your stories of masking up with us on Facebook and Twitter.
Mask Up India.
It's a simple task. Just wear a mask.
Mask Up India.
Mask Up India.
Mask Up India.
Welcome back. You're watching News on the Hour and news now from the world of business. Domestic equity market indices, Sensex and Nifty 50 were trading flat this morning. Taking cues from their Asian peers, the Sensex was hovering around 51,300 while the Nifty was ruling above 15,100. Top Sensex draggers were ICICI Bank, HDFC Bank, Infosys, HDFC and Axis Bank. Reliance Industries Limited was the top BSE Sensex gainer, up over 1%, followed by Larsen and Toubro, Hindustan Unilever Limited, Bharti Airtel, ONGC, among others. Barring Nifty PSU Bank and Nifty Media indices, all the sectoral indices were trading in the red. The Nifty Metal Index fell over 1%. The rupee pared its initial losses to settle higher by 9 paise at 72.65 against the US dollar on Thursday, following consistent forex inflows and losses in the American currency in the global markets. At the interbank foreign exchange market, the domestic unit opened lower at 72.76, tracking sell-off in domestic equities. The rupee touched a low of 72.78 and a high of 72.65 during the day. The domestic unit finally ended 9 paise higher at 72.65 against the US dollar. US stocks declined on Thursday with the broader Nasdaq, the S&P 500 and the Dow indices all finished in the red as investors opted to book recent profit after an unexpected rise in weekly jobless claims pointed to a fragile recovery in the labor market. At the close of trade, the Dow Jones Industrial Average Index declined 119.68 points, or 0.38%, or 31,493.34. The S&P 500 index fell 17.36 points, or 0.44%, to 3,913.97. The tech-heavy Nasdaq Composite Index dropped 100.14 points, or 0.72%, to 13,865.36. Gold prices fell to their lowest in more than 7 months, on course for their worst week since the end of November, as rising US Treasury yields eroded the non-yielding bullion's appeal. Spot gold fell 0.4% to $1,769.03 per ounce, having touched the lowest since July 2nd at $1,759.29 earlier in the session. Prices have declined 3% so far this week. US gold futures slid 0.6% to $1,765.30. Oil prices slid as much as 2% in early trade this morning, adding to overnight declines on worries that refineries shut by a big freeze in the US South will take some time to revive operations and dent crude demand. US West Texas Intermediate crude futures fell $1.21 or 2% to $59.31 a barrel after declining 1% on Thursday. Brent crude futures dropped $1.07 or 1.7% to $62.86 a barrel after declining 0.6% on Thursday. Asian stocks traded mixed in the morning following overnight declines for the major indices on Wall Street. In Japan, the Nikkei 225 declined 0.48%, while the Topix index lost 0.36%. South Korea's Kospi added 0.20%. Stocks in Australia fell as the S&P and ASX 200 traded 0.65% lower. MSCI's broadest index of Asia Pacific shares outside Japan traded 0.06% together higher. And now for some sports news. In the Australian Open, Daniil Medavdev and Stefanos Tsitsipas will play in the second semi-final of the Australian Open men's singles today. Both men will be playing in their third Grand Slam semis, and both will no doubt be hoping to follow in Dominic Thiem's footsteps from New York last year to continue to break the stranglehold that the Big Three have had on the majors for so many years. A place in the Australian Open 2021 final and a potential maiden Grand Slam title awaits the victor of this unmissable battle between players who have emerged as the most dominant from the younger generation of men's tennis. Fourth seed Daniil Medavdev enters the matchup with the benefit of achieving success at the final R hurdle. He's been one step closer to a Grand Slam title than his fifth-seeded opponent, losing a roller-coaster 5-set battle to Rafael Nadal in the US Open final in 2019 to earn a piece of silverware. The Russian right-hander holds a 5-1 head-to-head advantage over Sitsipas, who notched his sole victory when the pair met most recently at the ATP Finals in 2019. And as we've been telling you since this morning, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will address the convocation of Visva-Bharati University in West Bengal by video conferencing today. Governor of West Bengal and Rector of Visva-Bharati, Jagdeep Dhankar, UN Education Minister Dr. Ramesh Pokhriyal Nishank, and Union MOS for Education Sanjay Dhotre will also be present on the occasion. A total of 2,535 students will receive their degrees during the ceremony. And joining us now is our correspondent Arun Sharma, who's covering this event. Arun, the Prime Minister to address youth in West Bengal today. His message, just a short while back, in fact, we heard his message to youngsters at the joint hackathon for a circular economy. And well, it's clear that he wants to reach out to the youth with a message of peace, with a message of boosting their morale in these very difficult times.
Absolutely, and this is not the first occasion that Prime Minister Narendra Modi is participating in any university's convocation ceremony. During the COVID pandemic time, virtually Prime Minister Narendra Modi, participated in various institutions, universities, and attended the convocation ceremonies of various universities and institutions. So why today's event is important? Well, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is going to participate in the convocation of the Visva-Bharati University, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi is also the Chancellor of this Visva-Bharati University. So his message in this new decade his message to all the youngsters who will be part of the workforce in this new decade is going to be very much important. You know this fact that more than 2,500 students are participating. Various students will be graduating as far as Visva-Bharati University is concerned. So his message as far as the convocation ceremony in this new decade, specifically in this post-COVID world, is going to be very much important. We know this fact that Rabindranath Tagore founded this university of Visva-Bharati University, and in 1951, that means immediately after the independence, this university was given this status of institution of national importance. That means this institution is playing a crucial, a significant role as far as providing inclusive education, economic education primarily, and preparing the skilled workforce and skilled human resources for the entire system, for the state, and of course for the country. So, what can the role, or primarily, what can be the role of the youngsters? As far as making of New India is concerned, it is very much likely that Prime Minister Narendra Modi can speak on that aspect. And we know this fact that West Bengal has given various great personalities, in the field of education, literature, science, science and tech industry, and of course the freedom fighter, the freedom struggle that India, did. So a lot of great personalities have contributed, be it Rabindranath Tagore, Sharat Chandra, Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay, Rajaram Mohan Roy, Subhash Chandra Bose, you name it and you have it. So a lot of great personalities. So how can the youngsters of today can take inspirations from all these great personalities, can imbibe their ideologies, and of course can move ahead in making India a superpower, or can contribute as far as New India is concerned. We also know this fact that in December 2020, Rukma, Prime Minister Narendra Modi also participated in this event of Visva-Bharati University only, when this institution's completed its 100th year. So we know this fact that Prime Minister during that interaction highlighted some important point and clearly said this point that the 1920s time was an age of Gyan Yug, or education age. At that time, various universities were being opened. The focus was on providing education to the people. So that was a focus area. So earlier to education yug, or the education age, there was a Bhakti Yug, where people were showcasing their dedication, commitment. So we had we have great poets, people related to literature. They contributed immensely as far as the modern India is concerned. So now what youngsters can take inspiration from these great personalities? How can primarily these youngsters can take lessons and inspirations from these great personalities? How can innovation can be ensured in this post-COVID world? How can these youngsters contribute as far as innovation and research is concerned? How can these youngsters play a significant role as far as making India a new India? Primarily, that's the vision of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. So, as a Prime Minister, as a Chancellor of this University of Visva-Bharati University, in this new decade, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's vision, his message to the young generation is going to be very much important before they step into this skilled workforce or the area of the workforce going forward. Rukma?
Right. Meanwhile, well, the students, as we spoke to our reporter stationed there at Visva-Bharati, the students themselves are very excited. The Prime Minister is the Chancellor of Visva-Bharati University, India's first central university. In fact, Arun, the preparations this time are very muted, but some students, we believe, will still be present there. In that sense, another very a matter of great significance, particularly for the university students themselves.
Absolutely, Rukma. So we have seen that earlier also Prime Minister Narendra Modi has pointed and highlighted this fact that Visva-Bharati University has given to India a lot of great personalities. Now students or the alumni of the Visva-Bharati universities are working on a great position, not only in India but outside the country as well. They are serving humanity, they are serving the nation, and of course they are playing an important role as far as contribution of New India is concerned. So in that context, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's message is going to be very much important. And if you look at the pattern, whenever Prime Minister Narendra Modi has interacted with the students of the universities of institutions, he has primarily talked about a central theme. As I recall that when Prime Minister Narendra Modi, interacted with the students of Lucknow University, again a very old and premier institutions. At that time, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's message was very much clear as to how can the vocal for local mantra and message can be created, and how can youngsters work as far as vocal for local is concerned. In various other universities, Prime Minister has talked about Atmanirbhar Bharat part as well.
Right, Arun. At this point, I'd like to interrupt you. Also, the Prime Minister has been reiterating a short while back. Also, he spoke about going back to nature, of the fact that we are the trustees. that we human beings, those who live on this earth right now, we are not the owners of the resources of Mother Earth, but the trustees. So in many ways echoing the message that Gurudev Tagore had given in his pedagogy to go back to nature in the kind of education system that he introduced at Visva-Bharati.
Absolutely, Rukma. And if you look at it this way also, that Prime Minister Narendra Modi on various international and national platforms has also highlighted this fact that environment and economy should go hand in hand. And the need of the hour is to increase our research and innovation in that aspect so that economy and environment can go hand in hand. So it is a role of the youngsters in order to contribute as far as this circular economy that you're talking about. Government has provided a great ecosystem. During the COVID pandemic time, the Atmanirbhar Bharat App Innovation Challenge was started by the government, whereby a platform was given to the young entrepreneurs, the young innovators, as to how they can showcase their product and solutions on the national platform. So on the other side, the government has come out with the new or the national education policy after 3 decades. This was a need of the hour as to how can we reform and transform our education system, and premier institutions like Visva-Bharati University and various other universities can play an important role as far as imparting knowledge on the lines of national education policy. That means by providing more and more practical knowledge, by including the courses related to innovations, research and development in the curriculum. So that is what the idea of Prime Minister Narendra Modi is also on that aspect. And how can the knowledge can be given in the local language or the mother tongue? That is all the national education policy also highlights all about this fact. And how can these premier institutions, the universities, can play an important role, on working the lines of the national education policy. This is also an important message. So yes, on one side, government is creating ecosystems and policy level changes so that the youngsters of our country can benefit from it. And today's vision and message indeed by Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the Chancellor of the Visva-Bharati University is going to be very much significant in that context.
Right, the Prime Minister already laying the groundwork for that with his tweet, in which he speaks about how he will be addressing the students there at this convocation ceremony. Anytime now we are expecting the Prime Minister's address to begin, and we are actually waiting for him to begin his address so that we can communicate it to people all across India and the world. Prime Minister, as we were telling you, Arun, our correspondent covering this event. We also have our correspondents there in West Bengal at the Visva-Bharati University campus there to cover the event. And well, Arun, also his message to the youth that they are the trustees of the earth, not the owners. It appears that he's appealing to the next generation. His request to the next generation to follow the teachings of Rabindranath Tagore, which is to go back to nature.
Absolutely, Rukma. And not only Rabindranath Tagore, but Prime Minister Narendra Modi is also focusing upon the fact that how can the youngsters of today can learn from the great personalities of the past and can learn from the history, the kind of ideology that they had, the kind of work that they have done, the great personalities have done, and how they have sacrificed their life for this nation. So how can the youngsters of our country, can contribute in that aspect? We know this fact that in next 26-27 years, India will be, celebrating its 100th anniversary of the independence, or 100th year of the independence. So what role these youngsters can play as far as making this 100th year of the Independence Day of our country as historic and significant? Because the young force that is graduating today, the young force that is going to be the part of the workforce from now onwards, how can this young workforce, can take inspiration from the great personalities, of the past and can implement in present so that they can make a bright future for tomorrow? We also know this fact that Prime Minister Narendra Modi always believes in the part that how can youngsters of our country can be motivated. And, in that context only, the Startup India movement, the innovations and research platform that Prime Minister Narendra Modi has provided to various youngsters of our country, this gives a message that this gives a sense that how much trust Prime Minister is having on these youngsters, because he believes and he understands the fact that until and unless the youngsters of our country can be motivated, the youngsters of our country can be inspired, the youngsters of our country can be given a better platform, no change can be brought in. So either the economical aspect, either the environmental aspect, or various other aspects, if youngsters contribute and participate in the movement or in a mission, that movement or mission becomes successful. And the idea or the movement or the mission is to make India a new India primarily by 2024. So that's what the focus of the Prime Minister Narendra Modi is as of now. And in that context, only this a message by Prime Minister Narendra Modi is going to be very much significant.
And also the fact that it's being held in these times, there are some arrangements, we believe. What are you hearing from your soul? Well, we'll have to interrupt this conversation now. Prime Minister is